And I don't know if anyone's looked at the sheet and seen this, but Adam does not pick his prospects well.
The question is, does Max make the playoffs if he doesn't sell?
Good evening, gentlemen. Welcome to the first and hopefully last episode of the Fuck the Nats podcast.
That's the thing. It's like when you're me and like you know that you're a fucking idiot, stick with Christian Vasquez and he will lead my team in steals again.
The memories that come to the surface most clearly are me sorting my baseball cards one way one night and then completely redoing them the next night.
Actually, I'm going to reframe this. JD, why don't you start by talking about Dylan Beavers?
Apologies, I couldn't hear your question because the audio went out.
And welcome in to our second part of the 2024 season preview. I got with me today your other commissioner, JD, and we subbed out our Conference 2 analyst, Ben, for Vinny. It turns out it's Julie's birthday today, so happy birthday, Julie.
Happy birthday, Julie.
Join us. Vinny, very graciously, I texted him, and he was like, wow, this is like hardly any warning at all. But he's like, I'll jump right in. I just got to do something. I don't know what he did, but he needed like 30 minutes. He's here now, and he's here for the whole thing. I mean, we're talking about his team last. He doesn't want to miss out on that. But yeah, here we go. We don't want to run this one to be an hour and 49 minutes, which is what the last one was. So we'll just get right into this. We'll start with Graydon, the newest member, one of the three newest members of FTN. A lot of history with Graydon. For those of you who don't know, he went to high school with JD and I, and Ben, and then he has a history with Vinny too, from some fantasy football rivalry stuff going on there. I mean, those are some matchups back in the day. So a lot of history there.
Yeah, he's coming out hot already. He came out hot in the group chat plenty of times with my ass, and he just walked into the league and he's talking shit. I mean, unbelievable. It feels like he was fed information coming into the league or something like that. I'm not gonna point fingers, but
no doubt. So, all right, we find Graydon's squad here, and there's a lot of Texas Rangers. He's not been shy about pointing that out. He lives in Texas. He's going to live in Dallas sooner rather than later. He's excited about this Rangers baseball team, and why shouldn't he? They just won the World Series. So this team's loaded with those guys. Wyatt Langford's not even shown on here, and he'll be up. I don't know if it's confirmed as of today, but it more or less is. He will be up day one playing for that baseball team. And he's got some other exciting pieces like an O'Neal Cruz and a Royce Lewis. He has Corey Seager, who's one of the best players in the league. And then Vinny. Let's start right now talking about your Yankees and Anthony Rizzo. What's up with Anthony Rizzo?
I think that tail end of the season was just not. I mean, granted, he didn't play for over a month, maybe even like a month and a half. He had a concussion, and it was not a concussion that you can recover from in a season, which means it was genuinely bad. And he apparently is coming to spring pretty active and well. From what the Yes Network likes, propaganda wants to feed me, is that he's in here and he's looking good, and from the results so far in spring, he's doing well. He's always going to be a great defender, but that doesn't matter for fantasy purposes. But I think he's gonna be a staple in the middle of that, or staple in the middle of that lineup, probably in the 4-hole it seems, just to kind of split up the lefties. I like it. I hope he's back. It'd be great. He's got a couple more years, maybe not. Who knows?
It's the only first baseman on his roster. He did a good job in the expansion draft, building out a team that's ready to compete now, at least within the context of his own division. If there is a hole here, though, I'm going to say it's this first base position. As much as we may love Anthony Rizzo over in New York, I hated him in Chicago. So I've never been his biggest fan. He doesn't have another first baseman here, and in the farm he's got Kyle Manzardo, but he is behind Davison De Los Santos on that depth chart. Prospect service time manipulation or not. So Rizzo needs to stay healthy and productive, or Graydon is going to be in a bit of a black hole for the time being in that position. JD, what do you like about this roster? Because there's a lot to like.
It's extremely well-rounded for a dispersal draft of coming in. Like, I think there's a reason why he is a division favorite right now. He's ready to compete day one. And I mean, he has a lot of prospects, which we'll talk about in a bit, that you can be excited for, that will provide immediate support. Questions on pitching? The top two that you have mentioned there, Walker Buehler, not ready immediately on day one. I know he's pitching, but who knows when the Dodgers will bring him back. I think it's also a contract year for Walker Buehler, coming off of his second Tommy John. So we'll see how effective he is. Jordan Montgomery, obviously, not signed. We are 8 days away from, quote-unquote, the true opening day, and Scott Boras' client. So we will find out when and where Montgomery will be signed to, but right now, today is not that day.
Nance doesn't have a team. He doesn't have a team. It's crazy. Like, what are we talking about?
We had baseball today.
We had
regular season baseball, and Montgomery is still unsigned.
It's and we're talking about
breaking news recently.
And we're talking about like a real pitcher. We're not talking about Michael Conforto. We're talking about like a pitcher who like won a World Series, has proven now that he can pitch in the postseason, has some good years, and like is a viable pitcher. What is he asking for? $300 million? You're not going to get it. Like, take a contract, earn money. Don't be dumb. He's not going to pitch till the end of April now, basically.
I have to imagine he's going to a contender at this point.
That's also
next question. Do you have any suspicions, guesses of where he could be headed? I'm assuming it's going to be a deal similar to Snell, where it's like a 2-year deal, decent amount of money, and there's a player option for that second year. But like, where could he go at this point in time?
The Yankees should bring him back.
Couldn't agree more. They should bring him back, and I think it's all Cashman's fucking ego not wanting to say that he was wrong about the trade or wrong that he might not be a bigger game pitcher, but also they have a hole in their. It's an easy fill with a guy they know, a guy that they've worked with before, and has proven himself. Like, I don't understand it. And even if it's a 2-year deal, like Jordan Montgomery's 30, right? Or 30, is he 30 or 31? Something like that. Like, he's not 37 here. Like, you could give him a 3-year deal, 4-year deal of
31.
He's 31. Like, you could give him that deal, and it's not going to sink you, but it's this notion that they're going to spend 110% on the contract because of where they are in the threshold. It's stupid, but I saw Boston, but like, does he want to go to Boston and not be a contender?
I don't think Boston wants to pay him.
And Boston apparently is a small market team now, so
I don't think my Cards will sign him. I think I heard some news that Montgomery didn't really like St. Louis all that much. I don't know if it was the organization, the manager, the players there at the time, but I don't think that reunion's happening. Makes me a little sad. The Yankees just kind of seem like a perfect fit. Fuck. I mean, maybe the Giants are in with Scott Boras and they'll get another guy, but I don't know. That would indirectly hurt Graydon a little bit if Montgomery went to San Francisco, because that might just push Kyle Harrison out of the rotation. JD, what can you tell us about Kyle Harrison?
He's a prospect I originally owned and traded away to Laffy at the time. For me, I mean, Harrison has potential. Obviously, he's a young guy. I think they're like Giants starting pitcher number 3 in that rotation right now. So obviously the Giants trust him enough to kind of thrust him into a very high role, and their expectation obviously is for him to perform right away. Question marks though on if he will deliver. There is no such thing as a pitching prospect, so we'll see how Kyle Harrison does. But there's it's possible Harrison does well. I think there's a lot of other bounce back candidates on this team that I expect to improve. I know Drew always has this expectation that everyone on his team will improve. I actually do think that applies, though, to a handful of great players. Teoscar Hernandez under the Dodgers, I think, improves. Dalton Varsho, I believe he improves. O'Neal Cruz, Royce Lewis, obviously injured early last year, did not have a lot of games under their belt, but I think if they stay healthy, that's a lot of improvement in their numbers. And then Vinny was just talking about Rizzo earlier, maybe a prime bounce back candidate as well.
Yeah, I want to say one thing. I was actually kind of expecting a complaint or two from the group chat when publishing these about how these kind of pictures of showing the roster were constructed a little bit. And it's relevant here because I just want to talk about Kyle Harrison real quick and just the reason for his inclusion here. Because for a lot of other teams, you may have noticed, I didn't really include prospects. I really only included prospects if they were so clearly and obviously above the other players. I more or less kind of deferred to the veterans a little bit. That could be for any variety of reasons. One, we don't know what teams are going to do with service time manipulation, when those guys are going to get called up, whereas we know the vets will be there. And, we never know how well the prospects are going to do. And we don't know if the owner, from an FTN perspective, is going to keep them down and maybe Bamchaz tag somebody, right? In this case, that's why Wyatt Langford, for instance, isn't here. There's just enough solid veterans here for me to have, had them here. Kyle Harrison, this pitching is talented at the top, but to JD's point that he mentioned earlier, Buehler, question marks. Montgomery, question marks, where he's going to sign and when he's going to be ready. He's got to build up those innings. It drops off significantly, and now there's Kyle Harrison here.
Yeah, we didn't even mention Nestor, Severino, John Gray.
We didn't, but how good are those guys? I think Kyle Harrison is just flat out. I think there's a bigger gap between, I'm about to say something dangerous. I'm going to get clowned. I think there's a bigger gap between Kyle Harrison and those guys that you just said, like a Severino, than like a Wyatt Langford and a Dalton Varsho. In Langford's rookie season.
Well, you're talking about a pitcher who hasn't even thrown a major league pitch?
No, he pitched last year.
Oh, he did? Okay, never mind.
Not too much. He's still a prospect.
Yeah, sorry. He was 1-1, 35 Ks.
Go ahead.
He has literally the Yankees opening day starter. Like, what are you talking about here? Okay, he clearly has an ace. All right,
he was going to be Garrett Cole. Let's be honest.
I know. We keep talking about bounce back candidates for his team. Like, that's another bounce back candidate. And Severino, one current Yankee, another former Yankee. Dude, Rizzo. I'm sorry, I'm watching the Yankee game. Rizzo's batting .394 in the spring, and I know it's the spring.
Is Nestor going to put up a near 5 ERA season again? I don't think so.
I don't think he is. I think he's a savvy pitcher. He's not he's gonna get hit around occasionally because people will figure out maybe if he doesn't have the movement that day. But he's getting outs the ways he can get outs, and it's effective, and it's been effective for multiple years, not just one season. It wasn't I don't think it was a fluke. He was also kind of injured and banged up. So I feel like another. I would say yes, Kyle Harrison, because he's got that high profile of a prospect, and like JD said, that there's no such thing as a pitching prospect because you just gotta see them get out there. But I think Cortez is a bigger part of his rotation than we want to give him. And if Montgomery was signed by now, I'd say that his rotation isn't bad. Chris Sale too,
another prime bounce back candidate if he can stay healthy.
Yeah, and he's in an area with the Braves now where he legitimately they just strike people out. I feel like their pitching staff is just keen on getting people out with the K, and I don't know, man. I feel like he's got it's too many bounce back candidates to be solidified. If there's one weakness, we'll say that it's just that there's a little uncertainty. But you're right. Like he's in a division where it might just work out because of the division.
But
Yes, I don't know how I would feel. And again, I know he was limited in options. All the expansion teams were limited in options. I just don't know how I would feel with Bueller's question marks and Montgomery's question mark entering a season where my now number 4, 5, 6, and 7 guys ish are Cortez, Severino, John Gray, and Seth Lugo. I mean, there is talent here, and if they're healthy and productive, it's actually maybe one of the better pitching staffs in the league, but the depth is nil.
is
Very little
O'Neal
margin for error.
Cruz is O'Neal Cruz going to be one of his top 3 batters? Are you buying into the O'Neal Cruz hype?
Well, you tell me, JD. Are you?
I'm buying into the O'Neal Cruz hype.
Who has the better season in 2024? Ellie or O'Neal?
O'Neal Cruz.
O'Neal Cruz.
I think I'd agree.
I think Graydon did an exceptional job in acquiring O'Neal Cruz. I think he knew this is his guy. I want to get him. He got him. And I think there's just excitement coming from that.
I don't know if I'd say he'd be the top 3 player on that team. It depends. Like, I think Adolis Garcia will have a better season than O'Neal. Seager.
Royce Lewis.
Royce Lewis, I think, yeah.
I think it's a solid foundation, though, that he's got right there.
You
That's
know
a
what I'm
good
not?
score to have.
I guess I'm sold on Andres Gimenez as a stolen base threat. I mean, I get they're projecting him to hit 18 homers. Wow. I mean, I know that he was praised as like one of the top second basemen, but I'm not completely sold on his potential, shall I say.
Yeah, seems to be like a high floor player. Had a huge season for Sean a couple years ago, and he's now made his way over here in the conference too. But he kind of rounds out that profile that one of you guys talked about earlier. Just this is just a well-rounded team, kind of all over the place.
I haven't really looked at his farm a lot, but if he has young guys to like back up all these question marks,
let's talk about his farm right now.
Yeah, go ahead, pull it up because I don't have it up right now.
Drew, you want to go to the next slide real quick? Maybe we can hit on some points and talk about.
Yeah. These are the storylines, and then okay, so we talked somewhat about the prospects here over on the right side. It's not an inclusive list of all of them, but JD, why don't you walk us through this?
Yeah, so we mentioned that Anthony Rizzo is his only first baseman. There's a very talented young first baseman coming up, and his name is Kobe Mayo, who might be that Anthony Rizzo replacement going forward. And so Graydon, according to our FTN farm system research, he will actually have an anticipated 21 prospects that will graduate by the end of 2024.
Jesus Christ.
7 of those prospects are in the top 100 for him. And more specifically, all 7 of them are top 60 prospects. So we mentioned Wyatt Langford, who I think we all agree will be a stud. Obviously, as a rookie, he's going to have some growing pains, you would think. But I think he'll turn out to be a very elite talent. Is coming up opening day that we were assuming here. Marcelo Meyer coming up. Pete Crow Armstrong, Colt Keith, Kyle Harrison previously mentioned, Kobe Mayo just previously mentioned, and Kyle Manzardo. That's not even talking about some other reinforcements like Parker Meadows. Off the top of my head.
There's a lot of outfielders, JD.
That is a lot
of outfielders.
It's a lot of outfielders, but I think brand new ownership here, first year in the league, with the talent, I guess, voids that Graydon might have. He has a lot of room to just acquire the best talent possible and figure out a possible outfielder logjam at a later time.
Garcia, Teoscar, Ian Happen in fantasy, we get 4. Put in a Dalton Varsho. I don't know if Jorge Soler has outfield eligibility.
He doesn't.
He doesn't. So Dalton Varsho are your core 4 entering the year. And then you have basically 3 or 4 right there in the farm coming up this year. PCA, Wyatt Langford,
Garrett
Parker
Mitchell.
Meadows, Garrett Mitchell and Parker Meadows. So you have an entire replacement right there. It's a logjam. It's a good problem to have.
It's a good. You can always sell an outfielder prospect.
You could sell an outfielder prospect to get better pitching. You could also move on from a Teoscar for. I mean, you might not get a great return on moving on to Teoscar, but like I would probably switch out Teoscar or Dalton Varsho for one of these guys coming up. I value Ian Happ maybe a little bit more. I think Teoscar needs to bounce back a little bit more, but I think that he has a lot of wiggle room with that outfield. I think that's oh my god, he's a lot of great outfield prospects. I mean, obviously Wyatt Langford, like you got to have him in there if he's up, because you just got to have like the potential with it, see where it goes. And then if he doesn't work out for the first 3 weeks, you just send him. He'll be set down anyways, or you could tag him and drop him.
I would like to see like a PCA and I don't know, PCA and Dalton Varsho trade. Or no, PCA and Teoscar to Max for one of his pitchers over there, because he's got a few that he could part with. I think that would be an interesting trade. All right, we have spent 20 minutes on Graydon's team. We got to move on. We are going to talk about our newest Seattleite in the league, Jacob. I think there's a clear delineation in this division between the top 2 teams in it and forward, which we're about to get to. I think Jacob can compete this year. I think a lot of it's going to depend on Graydon's pitching staff that we just talked about. But Jacob, I mean, look at this team. It is fun only because we have Jackson Holiday right here at shortstop. He's going to be playing second base, so he's going to get that dual eligibility. He's the number 1 prospect in baseball. I mean, you have some analysts talking about this guy being capped at 15, which is not very fantasy relevant. But, I mean, his dad was fucking Matt Holliday. This dude can grow, and grow.
He's also 19 years old. So, like,
19 years old.
He's, absolutely.
He's in a kid's body. He is in a kid's body.
And he's fast as fuck.
He's probably the most untouchable asset right now
on this
team, or in general.
I think in the league. What reason would Jacob have to ship Jackson Holiday off right now?
Well, he wouldn't.
Are you talking about like? I think you're talking about MLB or
that with Wyatt Langford in his possession.
That's true.
No, I looking at this team, it's young. It's young, and then there's like these spotty MLB fillers. I mean, I keep thinking Josh Naylor's 34, but he's like 26, 27. Like, he's a lot younger than I thought. He looks
age
so
is deceptive.
He's deceptively old looking, and he's also been in the league 7 years, 6 years.
Notable omission that's not featured in this picture: Jackson Holiday's teammate Jordan Westberg, as well.
Is he going to play, JD? What's the latest on Jordan Westberg?
I think the Orioles plan to use him as like a super utility guy. It's just that Orioles team has so much young talent. Let's go through it real quick, because it affects Graydon's Kobe Mayo that we just talked about. And we see Jackson Holiday here. We got Jordan Westberg, right? So we would assume, I think they've come out and said Gunner's going to be at short. They're going to use Jackson Holiday at second, perhaps in like a timeshare a little bit with a Jordan Westberg. Who's third base? Who's first base? Why is
You could still put Mountcastle at first and then Kobe Mayo at third.
Yeah, Mountcastle at first, Kobe Mayo at third. JD called Kobe Mayo a first baseman. Perhaps that's where he is, and Mountcastle's more like a full-time DH, and they have Westberg at third. Does the entire Orioles infield just end up with positional eligibility across the diamond.
Sure seems like it.
That would be fun.
And they're all like young as shit. They're all 24, 25 years old. Or younger, sorry.
It's going to be fascinating what happens there, but
I guess we'll find out.
And Bryson Stott is a nice piece. Bryson Stott. I remember getting Bryson Stott, or did I originally have Stott, or did you send him, or did you have him, Drew?
Ben had Bryson Stott. I acquired Bryson Stott while he was a prospect. He came up. I shipped him to your former roommate, Bam Lord Dave, for 20 Bam at the time. And the league's like, that's a little bit of an overpay for Dave, but it was fine because it was only 20. And Bryson Stott was probably worth about 20 Bam. And now he's probably worth about 40. So he's a good player who steals bases.
Why did I think I had him? Did he sign? He also signed a major league deal, right, for like 6 years his rookie year. He was like one of those early major league signees for an extension for cheap or something like that.
That I don't remember. You very well could be right. I don't remember.
Let me find that out. Continue.
Well, yeah, he and Jackson Holiday could provide kind of a very high floor in that middle infield. I think that people might worry a little bit about the combined power of them, at least early in each of their careers, but they steal those bases. They're projected to hit for high averages. And they're both in teams that are striving to win 100 games, hitting at probably the top of their lineups, scoring a lot of runs. So
I was very wrong. Totally thinking of someone else. Totally think of another Philadelphia Philly at one point.
It's all right. Plenty of other interesting names here. Brian Hayes hoping for his true breakout season because he kind of had that breakout rookie year, and it was a breakout because he hit for way more power than anyone thought he was going to. But he hasn't continued that pace. There's been some injuries and stuff like that. He's been a total enigma in FTN and in his MLB career. We'll see if he can turn it around. Santander is just a very solid veteran presence over there in the outfield for both his real-life team and for Jacob to lean on here while he waits for his prospects to mature a little bit. He acquired Cody Bellinger during the offseason. That was one of his first major moves.
I do have a little question. Why is Pete Grow Armstrong in center and not Cody Bellinger? That is not Cody's picture.
Your editor overlooked that. I'll beat his ass.
We will not discuss that. That is Cody Bellinger though in the middle.
That is Cody Bellinger for
middle of the outfield there.
Cody, yeah. Going off what you said previously though, I think Brian Hayes. I really think Brian Hayes has a great chance to break out and also is a good player. I think he's going to be one of the staples for this team, for the Pirates moving forward. Like I have a belief in Brian Hayes. I've drafted him in multiple leagues throughout the last 3 years, and has it worked out? No, but
this is the year.
You could have hope.
I guess I have to believe in Brian Hayes since I picked the Pirates to win the NL Central. I don't see how they do it unless Brian goes nuclear.
What did you just say? You picked the Pirates to win the Central?
I did.
Drew's a believer in the Buccos. I
have a lot of chalk picks this year, I think. The Pirates are the odd one. I just think that Central is so bad. We don't have to get into it. I think anyone can win.
No, we can wait for that. But that's it. I mean, didn't you also say you picked like a 10 seed to win the entire tournament, or was that someone else in the chat? I thought I saw Drew said that.
Like the NCAA tournament?
NCAA tournament.
I picked Kansas, but I have them against Drake, who's a 10 seed.
That's right. Final Four. Crazy, man. Kansas, who just lost one of their best players. Good call.
Yeah, it is what it is. Back to baseball.
Back to baseball.
Another interesting NL Central name, if we turn our attention to the bottom right corner. More interesting today than he was yesterday, and seemingly every day he gets more interesting because the Reds can't seem to keep their infielders on the field.
They keep going. They keep going on IL. They keep taking PEDs.
Candelario's got to be an everyday player at this point, and I would have laughed 2 years ago that this guy would ever become fantasy relevant, but he kind of has been. And this could be his best year yet, hitting in the friendly confines of Great American Ballpark.
I think he went from a career worst year to last year where it was his career best. So it'll be interesting to see if Candelario can sustain that level.
Interesting to see if it's
playing
Pete
every
Weeds.
day, hitter friendly ballpark. He's a solid veteran on this team, similar to Santander, Bellinger, just a solid veteran.
I forgot to Photoshop a Reds hat on him. That's too bad.
I know you're a big fan of Verdugo too.
I was about to say he's got Verdugo in that outfield too. That's not bad. The leadoff hitter for the Yankees.
I've always thought Verdugo was pretty good. I offered Laffey 70 BAM for him at the beginning of last year. Should have taken it. Would have been a bad deal for me. He was probably more
70 BAM? Are you fucking crazy?
Well, I thought he was gonna have a breakout year. I thought the Red Sox would be better.
Drew, what's the opposite of a closet Alex Verdugo fan? Because that is what Drew is. Drew is vocal and outspoken.
I don't want to hear anything. I don't want to hear anything about Joey Bart 45 BAM anymore. You were offering 70. 70 BAM for Verdugo.
Look, JD can't talk shit because he rosters discount Alex Verdugo, Andrew Benintendi.
We'll get to that when my team comes.
Yeah.
Basically, the consensus is on what this seems like is Jacob will be competing with Graydon for this division title. I think the difference between the two teams at the end of the day is going to be pitching and pitching depth, and that will separate the two of them for who wins the division.
I love the meme in the bottom left corner too. Sorry, I wanted to point that out. That's fantastic.
That's a great point, Vinny. We throw Jacob, brand new owner, year one into this league, and we throw him to the Wolves against Jack and Sean
God bless him.
The funniest part about it too is I'm pretty sure both of their regularly scheduled matchups and the interleague extra matchups all happen within the first 8 weeks of the season. So he's got Sean and Jack twice in the first 8 weeks.
Talk about being behind the 8 ball. Jeez.
Yeah. Let's definitely talk about the pitching in just a second. One last thing is I want to point out 2 Texas Rangers players. We got Jonah Heim and Evan Carter. I don't know how much we need to talk about Evan Carter because he's been one of the most talked about players in the group chat this entire offseason. A lot of unsustainable ratios, perhaps, although I think I've heard he's maintained a bit of a power surge in spring training. Jonah Heim is the one I want to talk about because he's got 2 catchers on this roster. Francisco Alvarez probably looks like a mainstay. So what does he do with Jonah Heim? His best skill was RBIs last year, and for a catcher, he produced an elite number of those.
He also has
do it again.
He also has a former Vinny catcher, Bo Naylor. So 3 catchers on this team here.
He stole my catcher off my waiver wire. Wow, what a bastard! No, what he really needs is for you guys to sack up and just have a secondary catcher position. Come on, guys. We are built for a 2 catcher league. I've been building and developing for this moment. So, what the fuck?
Gabriel Moreno is out there on waivers, and if we were a 2 catcher league.
Well, I mean, that's is he not a prospect still?
I'm just saying he's not. And that's why I'm saying it's a problem that Gabriel Moreno is on waivers because that man should not be on a waiver wire.
Wait, he's not a
prospect a year ago.
He's not a prospect. You can pick him up. I would love a Vinny acquisition right now in the middle of this podcast here.
That'd be hilarious, honestly.
Yeah. Okay. Pitching. Guys, it's not good. It's not good. There's some fun. There's some youth. I'm sure there's some stuff in the farm, but a lot of it's not immediate help. He's going to be rolling out Andrew Abbott as his number 1, I would think.
I think it's Keller or Aubert. Probably Keller.
I take that back. I would think it's Keller. I would think it's Keller number 1. I'm with you.
I think Abbott's a top 3, but he's not 1 or 2 on this team.
Aubert was a free agent this offseason in the league, wasn't he? Entering the offseason? He got picked up in like January.
I think he got picked up. I
He
agree.
got picked up. I'm
And so
high on him this year. I think he's going to be a very solid pitcher for the Twins.
you shouldn't have been on waivers, I guess is the point.
Yeah, I think it was a Jack drop, and we know Jack's pitching is quite elite. So that would probably explain the drop. Regardless, a great pickup by Jacob.
I'm going to be honest with his pitching staff. I don't know a whole lot about most of these. I mean, Aubert's been tossed around. Mitch Keller, I like. Andrew Abbott, I don't know very well.
I think that's
you
the
know
perfect.
the guys in the bottom left, Vinny.
I mean, unfortunately. See, when I first saw the meme, I thought it was about Frankie Montas and Carlos Rodon. Like, I'm going to be honest. I was like, oh.
Well, I think you just summarized Jacob perfectly. He's a complete wild card. None of us have really been in a fantasy league with Jacob before.
No.
I came out of retirement this offseason again. I have had limited interaction with Jacob. I'm very curious to see how he builds this team and where he goes going forward.
He's got to contend with Great American Ballpark with Andrew Abbott, Frankie Montas. That's not exactly where you want to be year one. So he's got to contend. He's got to win with the bullpen. There's some bullpen pieces here we like. He's got to win with the offense, and I think he realized that, and that's picked up Cody Bellinger.
I mean, he's got to contend against Carlos Rodon's velocity drops this offseason.
He's throwing 97 again, guys. Relax.
Okay, there we go. He's back. Oh yeah, see, number one key storyline. What is Jacob?
It's fair.
Yeah, we kind of hit on all three of these. JD, you want to take us through the farm real quick, and then we'll move on to Ryan.
Yeah, same thing with Graydon. I think a lot of his top prospects are going to be graduating by the end of this year. Already mentioned Holiday and Carter. Ricky Tiedemann could provide some huge pitching support once he gets called up. Mick Abel, don't know a whole lot about him, but he's obviously a top 50 MLB prospect right now. Same thing with Carson Wisenhunt. Will be called up at some point this year, you would think. The main ones to focus, it's probably 2025 and beyond. Roman Anthony, Emmanuel Rodriguez, that's going to provide a lot more depth in that outfield. Same thing with Yankees superstar Spencer Jones, who the Yankees decided not to trade for in the Dylan Cease trade. So
talk about untouchable prospect. That guy. That guy's old, apparently.
I think the story to watch is Graydon's outfield depth going forward and Jacob's outfield depth going forward. It's going to be very interesting to see which of those prospects pans out.
Yeah, one guy too that Jacob picked up in the live auction draft was Christian Scott. A lot of people writing Christian Scott this offseason, a lot of smart people in baseball. I think, there's obviously openings in that Mets rotation, so you could grab hold of something there. And maybe next year when the Mets hope to be contenders again, he'll get a 10-win pitcher. So a guy to watch there for sure.
The biggest prospect acquisition in the live auction draft was the most BAM spent, 28 on Colt Emerson. Another prospect to keep an eye out for. His helium is through the roof. Possible number one overall prospect at some point. There's a lot to like about this farm.
Too rich for my blood. 28 BAM is a lot of BAM.
Yeah, Jacob, obviously a Mariners fan, so he's got to be very happy with that one. Cool. Yeah, I think this team can compete. It's going to be hard. He's going to have to rely, I think, on I think Jack has talked to Jacob about this league a lot in the past. I'm going to think Jacob comes in with a little bit more knowledge of how to manage a pitching staff in FTN than I think a lot of people might think he will. So I wouldn't be surprised if he makes some savvy Jack-esque moves to steal some pitching categories during the season that we wouldn't necessarily expect him to be able to do, given the dearth of talent that we in depth that we can see on the roster. So excited to see his strategy, and with some good management, he could make some noise. Let's go to a team that's not going to make any noise. Oh, you know what? Before we all look at Livy Dunn, let's read the comments. Let's read the comments real quick on Graydon's and Jacob's team. We've got to do this. I'm not going to read them out loud, but I'll just leave them up here on the screen. Graydon destroyed the dispersal draft. A lot of people agreed with that. Division winner, people already anointing him. Shit. This guy says shit about everyone. Solid farm, setting up team for success in the future. Good stuff. And Jacob, laughable. I mean, that's just mean, guys. It's just mean.
I remember which one I put for almost every single one. And
Are you the shit guy?
I am not the shit guy. I was not that much of an asshole, but I will say my favorite thing, I think, was Ryan's. So when we get to Ryan's, there's one that's like, I didn't write it, but there's one that is just, it's just, I laughed out loud reading it today, like, genuinely.
I have more faith in Jacob as a manager than Graydon or Ryan. I don't know who wrote that one.
That sounds like a Jack thing.
I don't know who. Yeah, that does sound like a Jack one, but Jacob is an ultimate wild card to all of us, but maybe he's well known to a certain person that he believes in Jacob's managerial abilities. I love it.
Okay. All right. There's a lot going on in this picture. You got good old Marty Brenneman announcing this game with Sunny Day. Love to see it.
We should have gotten a scoreboard with 4-0 in the top left somewhere.
I had that originally when it was on a different field, but then Ryan told me this was his favorite backyard baseball stadium, so we lost the scoreboard.
Got it.
But it's okay. So one picture or name stands out above the rest on this, and it's actually not Livy Dunn. It's Mr. Aaron Judge in right field.
Let's hear it.
I want to hear it from you, Vinny. What are Yankees fans' feelings today on Aaron Judge?
The captain. He's still the best. I'd say he's still the best player on the team. And the fact that he's dealing with some type of ailment, which was an abdominal thing that might actually be an oblique thing. It feels like it happens every year that there's something. Granted, last year it wasn't anything other than he ran into a fucking brick wall that shouldn't be there, but that's besides the point. Or brick part of a wall, shall I say. I think that he's going to play. I mean, I believe the man when he says that if he was to play, if it was his regular season, he would play. So I expect him to be Aaron Judge until he can't, or until a limb falls off, or until he literally tears everything in his fucking wrist or something like that, like something crazy, because the Yankees have that happen once a year or twice a year with different players. I'm expecting injury every year. I don't think that, I'm not going to expect it from Judge, but, he is 30, He's 32?
31, I believe.
He's about to turn, I think he's turning 32.
32 in April.
Exactly. He's, he's still big, and he's going to be playing center field. Yeah, there's always injury risk with him, but, for the last few years, minus a freak injury, when he didn't have a freak injury, he was the best player we've seen since 1961 in terms of home runs. He had the most home runs. Okay, sorry. Without steroids. And then he runs into the Dodgers' bullshit-ass outfield fence, and that's something he can't control because he's the GOAT. No, I think that if he stays healthy, like that is just one bat that can carry an offense or really just. I mean, how many times have we talked about David being like semi-competitive when he never changed his fucking lineup, and it's because he had Aaron Judge in there dropping 60 homers, like, and winning a playoff round or two, or one. I think he only won. He won a playoff round once, I think, at least.
Ryan can steal some categories this year solely because of Aaron Judge.
If he's healthy, and I think he's going to stay as healthy as I think he's going to play a good amount of games this year. Like I really do. I'm glad that they're taking it easy early.
You have no concerns about his toe maintenance or his injury absences already during spring training, or is this
I'm fine with him not hitting in spring training, because when he is in there and he has Juan Soto in front of him, like tonight, he had Juan Soto in front of him, and then he hit an RBI double driving in Juan Soto in his one at bat because they just wanted, like, if he's in, he's gonna play well even with that bullshit toe.
Is this Aaron Judge in the prime of his career, or is he in like the twilight prime of his career?
I still say he's at the prime. I wouldn't say twilight prime. I think twilight prime is if he really tears something in his upper body again in the next couple of years, like an oblique again, where it's like a reoccurring thing, and then I think he'll be in his twilight. But like, if he stays healthy and he's like playing 150 games this year, and he hits 45, 50 homers, like that's the prime of his career. Like that's what I'm going to expect type of numbers prime. But if he plays 150 and he only hits 25, it drives in 70 or 80, then we could have a discussion that maybe he is in the waning prime of his career.
Have you made an offer for Aaron Judge since Ryan's come back to the league?
I ain't got the BAM, dog. I ain't got the BAM. I spent all my BAM. I tried to replenish my farm system. I do not have the assets unless he likes someone on my team that I don't know about. But I have not sent out any feelers for Judge. I mean, I jokingly made an offer for Soto with you, and that was fun. But like, no, I don't have the assets.
A very honest man, Vinny is. Okay. There's a lot of more stuff to talk about here. Let's go to the youth for a second, because we just talked about Aaron Judge. Let's make our way over to left field. Jackson Chourio. He just signed that $80 million 8-year, I believe, deal this offseason. Despite did he play in like one game last year, JD?
No, I don't think he made a major league appearance. I believe he's going to be there opening day, and I think that will be his first at bat in the majors.
So 100th percentile outcome is like Ronald Acuna Jr., maybe 90% of Ronald Acuna Jr.
A very high ceiling.
Yeah, most outcomes, we're probably looking at maybe an Adolis Garcia type of impact for the Brew Crew. So very exciting to see him in the outfield. Again, I tried not to put a lot of prospects on this list that Ryan's roster is so talentless that Chourio's here. He's already called him up. He's on his roster as of opening day in FTN. So, yeah, Ryan's ready for him to come in and do some big shit for him this year. Nick Castellanos, the other outfielder. I don't know. Is he still on the Phillies? Did I get that wrong?
Nick Castellanos.
I think Ryan got rid of Castellanos.
I think Castellanos is no longer on his team.
Yeah, Castellanos is on Sean's team. This is how outdated it is.
That's right. He pulled me out on it.
Traded Castellanos to Sean for Jaron Duran and Brock Wilkins. So
how the fuck are we not talking about Ryan McMahon, man? Come on.
Let's talk about Ryan McMahon. Let's talk about Ryan. JD loves to talk about the Rockies. JD, why don't you talk about Ryan McMahon?
He's washed. There's nothing really to talk about. It's a Rockies player. I have question marks on who and why people are rostering Rockies players in this league unless their name is Ben Feitlinger.
You don't question anything with him anymore, do you?
It's just it's fine for a team of Ryan's caliber. It's not fine for a team that's not named Ryan.
The Coors effect is real. Ryan McMahon could hit 30 home runs this year, and it shouldn't surprise anyone. He's a gold glove at the position. He's going to get playing time. I'm a big Ryan McMahon fan. Would I pay a lot of BAM for him? Any BAM for him? Probably not. I got better options. A lot of people have better options. But you are right. If I'm a team of Ryan's caliber, Ryan McMahon's exactly the type of player that I want. Hope he's the Rocky All-Star representative and that he's got 18 home runs at the All-Star break, and then try to ship him for 25, 30 BAM to another team. That's what I would be hoping for. Luis Arias is here. He's fun.
Yeah,
Elite at
that's the best way to put it. He's got a high average, which means he has got a decent OBP. No power at all. Minor. I mean, runs are nice, I guess, for him. But
I heard he put like 2 over the fence in like the first 2 spring training games of the year or something like that.
whoa.
I mean, we might see like 10 homer Luis Arias season, and that would
Woo!
that's with a 400 OBP and a 360 batting average, 90 runs and 10 homers.
And isn't that how Lopez got on Minnesota too? That was there was a 1-for-1, right?
I think that was the Jorge Lopez trade. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Lopez has turned out to be great for Minnesota. I mean, Arias can hit baseball, but fantasy-wise, he's not great for a lot. Against the OVP.
Yeah. I kind of every player here kind of has a storyline. Ty France sucks. We don't have to talk about him very much.
Does he suck? He sucks now.
He was never actually very good.
Once you get,
Whoa! I had him. Okay.
I think Ty France is fine for a team of Ryan's caliber. It is just probably not fine for anyone not named Ryan.
That's the third time you've said that, or second time you've said that.
It's just the fact here. We have to remember Ryan is the last Conference 1 representative to make the championship game, not named Jack or Adam. Ryan has
And now
made
it's
the
Conference
championship.
2, baby.
It's just his team was taken over by Perry's last year. Then he comes into this dispersal draft and gets this team. And it's probably going to finish last in that division.
All right.
Well,
All right.
before we move on from this page, listen, he's got Livy Dunn on his team. Let's be honest, like that's a W. Like, can we just own that one? But if you go to the page in which we see the comments, let's go off what you just said, JD, because it might be one of the funniest things I've read all day.
We'll get to the comments.
We'll get to the comments later, whatever.
We'll get to it in just a second.
Yeah. Quick thing.
Let's talk real quick. JD, I want to hear you one thing, but look, we're putting a lot of negative energy to Ryan's team right now. Let's talk about a best case scenario. Jackson Chourio, rookie season, he's a 30-30 guy, getting 550 plate appearances. Aaron Judge does Aaron Judge MVP things. Ellie De La Cruz, because of all these Reds, like weird
30 homers.
Right. He's a 30-40 guy. Ellie in his second year in the majors, and he's playing every day. Jordan Lawler actually starts for the Diamondbacks and makes good on the promise that he's had for a few years now. And, he gets contributions from elsewhere across, right? We talked about Ryan McMahon maybe having a career year, I believe, in like his age 28 season. Maybe the Rockies are a bit better, and Ryan McMahon drives in 85 runs and scores 80. This offense can be decent. It's young and he needs a lot of things to go right with his young players now. And he needs Aaron Judge to have that MVP caliber season that has carried BLD in the past. If he gets that, this can be actually maybe an above average offense as early as this year. Okay. Sorry, JD. Back to you.
So there's a couple guys we haven't mentioned here. One thing, Ryan was extremely unfortunate this offseason with pitching injuries. And honestly, injuries in general. Taj Bradley is out to start the season. Devin Williams is out for like 3 months. Karinchak is currently out with a shoulder injury. Gonsolin, when he drafted him, out for the year. Von Grissom's actually out for, I think, like a month or two, maybe. And LeMahieu is out for a bit. And
He might be back sooner than we expect. Yeah, he's out for a little.
A couple of names we haven't mentioned as well. It's a team on the older side. Wilmer Flores, Chris Taylor, Duval, Jose Abreu. He made some pickups in JD Martinez and Reynaldo Lopez in trades. I kind of understand why he did that, though. I think some of these guys, if they can prove themselves, maybe Ryan goes for a quick flip to someone else just for immediate short-term impact for this year, where, maybe Ryan believes he's not contending right now. Let's just try and get as many assets as I can that produces early.
He's not gonna get more for Reynaldo Lopez than he traded for him in the first place. Is my issue with it.
So there's a lot of unfortunate circumstances, a lot of older players, but I think that lines up with Ryan's strategy of young talent in his farm system. I think there's an argument to be had. Ryan might have one of the most exciting farm systems that in this league. And he has a lot of building pieces.
He had a hell of an auction draft.
Going forward. He had a hell of an auction draft. He went out there. He knew what he wanted. He got some quality players. The farm there's a lot to like there. We mentioned Churio and Skeens. This year, we have 17-year-old Ethan Zach. That's going to be coming up next year. We have Max Clark, who's coming up either next year or the year after.
He might be a few more years.
Right, a few more years. Some guys I haven't even mentioned. Drew Gilbert, Noble Meyer, Aiden Miller.
Talk about what he did in the auction draft. I mean, he's
a spender. I love it.
Jacob Melton could provide value immediately for Ryan. Sawyer Gibson Long could do the exact same thing. Luis Hill, Yankee. I've heard he's the favorite to be the fifth starter now while Garrett Cole is out. Luis Hill, he's been killing it in spring. That could be a guy for Ryan right out of the gate that no one probably would have expected.
He's only good for 100 innings, though, sadly.
Well, I think for Ryan's sake, it's more long-term than it is short-term.
Yeah, no, Luis Hill I love as a long-term option, but for this year only, sadly, he's getting the Michael King treatment.
Yeah.
Brock
Wilkins, another guy to get excited about. I mean, there's so many prospects in this farm that I think if Ryan just sells whatever he can at this point, you fast forward 2 years, 3 years, this is a team that I think is one to watch out for, and I think
he's going to be scary. He's genuinely going to be scary with his prospects, I think. And if he manages, if he wants to flip some of them for current players or younger studs or developing stuff, he has a lot of mobility with the players he can move. Like you said, he can move at the deadline or sooner rather than later if he just immediately is I don't think this team's going to go anywhere. But, it's all about building.
It's the best farm in the league.
I agree. My just one big problem is just we've seen the other two new guys come in and immediately make moves. And Ryan's moves so far have been Reynaldo Lopez and JD Martinez. And I just don't think that's cutting it right now. Maybe, look, Perry came in last year and inherited Ryan's mess. And it took him a while to start to make some moves because he had to learn the team and the franchise, and he had to learn the league and everything on the fly. But he eventually did make some moves. And maybe Ryan's getting used to it a little bit. I just think there's so many moves to be made here, and I just don't understand what Ryan is doing. But that.
Cut him some slack. He's coming back from a really shitty situation.
There's a lot of good moves. People are going to laugh at me. I'm going to say this live on air at the podcast. I believe Ryan is a good owner. If you make a championship game, there is some managerial skill to get there. And I believe Ryan has
Thanks, Dave.
some part of it.
Thanks, babe. Thanks for the compliment.
I'm going to get ridiculed for that take. I already know it.
Vinny, why don't you walk us through what you had to say about Ryan?
How on earth, Ryan, did you somehow manage to leave the league with a shit team and re-enter with another even worse one? So fucking bad. You know it sucks to rebuild. Why make yourself go through it again? Honestly, maybe the absolute worst active roster ever. Your pitching makes me want to die. Great farm, though. And I will say for this one, my comment was right below. I believe it was, I feel bad for Ryan constantly getting shit, but hey, he has Aaron Judge.
One last thing on Ryan before we move on to the next team. Who are the two worst teams in this league right now, in your opinion? Just competitive-wise for this year.
Teams that have been affiliated with Ryan either presently or in the past.
That's probably a safe answer that almost everyone in this league would agree with.
Yeah, I probably, yeah. But I mean, like, I'm going to say Ben just because fuck Ben, but like, yeah.
I like both teams' long-term prospects better than I like a team like, say, Ben's long-term prospects. I like them better than Jack's and Mac's long-term prospects.
Wait, you don't like acquiring relief pitching prospects for 5+ BAM? You don't like doing that?
Franchise tagging the shit out of them. I guess I like that model when I'm a contender, but there is a
certainly some choices were made.
There's a long winter coming for Jack in the future. So,
hey, he's in Conference 1. We're talking Conference 2.
Clown C, Clown Do. It's a great one.
That sounds like a JD comment, but I'm not going to make him.
I made 0 comments on all of these teams.
Oh, okay.
He was retired when we did this.
Why you're retired, then you come out of retirement, and there's barely any.
2-year contract with FTN.
2 years? Is there an option for a third?
Currently not in the books. We'll have to negotiate after next.
It was a contract as an owner, not as a commissioner. He has a lifetime deal as a commissioner.
Season predictions, though. Pretty unanimous here. Graydon first, Jacob second, and Ryan third.
I kind of side here with Adams, like Graydon take.
You don't think anyone in this division finishes above 500?
I'm not like I'm not like confident in it that will happen. But if anyone, it probably would be Graydon. But if we were gonna err on the side of caution based off of the development of or how they're built, and we don't even know how Jacob will manage, probably fair to think that. I mean, I don't think Jacob's team will be 70, 140, and 10.
That seems
like,
low.
I don't think his team's that bad, but
we're like Drew's predictions more here.
That one.
Graydon will finish above 500.
Vinny, we're gonna get to your team. If you were in this division, do you think you'd win it?
I mean, yeah, I think so.
Because you think you'd be an above 500 team.
If I was playing 2 of these 3 teams, majority of the season, yeah, probably. I mean, I play them each 4 times, right? And I play them how many times normally?
You'll play each of them 2 times.
Might be helpful. Who knows? Depends on the month. Maybe Garrett Cole's back. Who knows?
I don't see a 30-game... What is this? This is 30, 40... I don't see a 35-game difference between...
I completely agree.
Yep, I don't see that either. I do
I
believe
don't see
Braden
either
faces
of those.
up.
I don't see Jacob or Ryan losing 140 games. Like, it feels like a little too many.
Jacob is much closer to Graydon than to Ryan. I'll just say that.
Correct.
1,000%. If you want to say Ryan loses 140 games because Ryan decided to punt a little bit, yeah, couldn't agree more. And Ryan, I hope you don't take this as we're completely shitting on, at least me. I'm not completely shitting on you. I think you got a great future.
He has the best farm. I think
That
future.
farm and young players. If you want to punt, nobody's to blame you because it would make a lot of sense to trade away and to acquire more assets. Like you lose 140 games, fuck it. Be like, haha, I am actually rebuilding this garbage, unlike another owner. But continue.
Okay. Well, we spent way too long on the newest division, but that's okay. They're the newest teams in the league. This is Ben.
This is Ben.
He's not here today. He was supposed to be here. He's going to be very sad when we get free reign to shit all over his team. Vinny, I know you have such a rivalry with Ben. Why don't you talk us through what are your high level thoughts on this team?
Well, do I think he's actually building something? Yeah, I do think he's actually building towards something, and I will legitimately give him credit that he's doing things to better the team. He did realize that he needed to rebuild something. He's finished in last behind me, and apparently that's like the worst thing that's ever happened. He has a lot of good young players, and I think I've talked to a few people in the league about this. Like his younger starting lineup is very good, and like I don't think that. I'm not certain that he's a winner now, or if everyone hits, then boom, I think he could be a winner. His biggest question marks is he still has injuries. And then he also has he has the best pitcher in the league, most likely, in Spencer Strider. It's, he has potential. But like, oh man, there's parts of me that's so unproven. Listen, youth can be great, but youth could be damned, So it's definitely like this could be a wild card year. Legitimately a wild card, like not just the position, he could be a wild card. But like I think that where he's building is strong. Minus the relievers for 5+ BAM in the auction draft that we all were just flabbergasted by.
Who is over 30 on this team? Who's over 28 on this team?
Lane Thomas.
He might be the only one.
Yeah, honestly, Berger is young, right? Isn't Jake Berger?
Berger's 27.
Okay, so he's the older one. That's elder statesman right there.
So Lane Thomas is 28. I think Lane Thomas might be the oldest guy on this team.
Brian Abreu?
I think he's mid-20s.
He's a recent prospect.
Oh, Tyler Rogers for sure.
Brian Abreu's 26.
Tyler Rogers definitely older.
So one, and we're not counting Woodruff.
Yeah, his core is shown on this screen.
Yeah.
Wait, McClanahan is out for the season too. Damn.
Yeah.
Damn.
The hit Bean's core right now, a lot of it is under the age of 28 years old.
So that's a theme. That is a theme with this team.
Well, he's rebuilding for a reason, and this is what you do to build younger talent. Like,
is he rebuilding though, or are the off-season rumors true in that his window is open?
I don't think it's. I mean, sure, you could say it's open because he actually has he has youthful potential that we have no. Do we think C.J. Abrams is gonna just come out and be great? Do we know if Zach Geloff is gonna be awesome? Vinny Pasquantino had a few months, right? And we're all like, "Fuck yeah, Vinny Pasquantino!" Also, that name is fire.
I love Abrams. He went out in the offseason, traded Sean for Zach Geloff. Obviously, we know the Nolan Jones hype train is through the roof.
Right.
Out of control.
Lane Thomas played well. Jake Berger has a burger in his last name, and of course he's going to hit dingers.
Spencer Steer will play every day, whether it's outfield or somewhere in the middle infield for the Reds.
That was one that I was not high on. Steer. I don't know much about him.
I'm-
I mean, they're
I
projecting him
actually
pretty
pretty
damn high. I meant more like I didn't know anything about him. Damn.
What's Steer's projections, Vinny?
254, 74 runs, 22 homers, 80 RBIs, and 9 stolen bases with eligibility for first base, third base, and outfield.
So, best case scenario, maybe
Damn.
20. He could be a consistent 2015. Maybe he gets up to that 2020 tier if it's that 90th, 100th percentile.
Right.
I think he goes more. I think he grows more in the power direction than the speed direction. I'll keep it at 15 stolen bases and say he could hit 30 bombs in Great America.
Dude, the Pasquantino projections are fucking great.
We shit on Bean a lot, but I think his core has a lot of potential, and if
He's
I'm
got a
Ben,
good
I'm
core.
excited for it, which is why we hear about Ben's hype for all players every single day, including Spencer Strider hype.
Wait, how old is Christopher Morel? He could be older, right?
Morel has been tossed around this league, and I swear half this league has owned him at one point.
He's 24. Are you shitting me?
Once again,
Morel, Suwinski's here, not showing. Yeah.
Of course, so while we have Drew here, who is probably the most patient owner for prospects in FTN, we have quite the opposite here in Ben, the most impatient prospect owner in FTN. So we'll see if he continues with this core or if he decides to start trading them again.
Yeah, I mean, he traded me Gray Rod for pennies because of his first 4 career starts. It was such a joke.
A big overreaction. Yeah.
A big overreaction. I think second base is fascinating here. JD, what's your opinion? Who do you like better going forward, Zach Geloff or Nolan Gorman? Are either of them mainstays, next 3 to 5 year building block type of player?
I used to own Gorman. There's a reason I kind of sold him off. I'm not fully a believer, even after last year. I'm still not a believer. I think Ben did a nice job getting Geloff. It's a young guy on a crappy team, but I think the A's will try and focus on kind of building around Geloff, if that's possible for them.
In the recent photo renderings of the new proposed Vegas A's stadium, is that what it was?
Yes. Yep.
They had Geloff as the
big screen
1, 2, or 3 hitter. Yeah, the guy who's up to bat. So
hey, they know something. It's in the script, baby.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. You said it about Burger bombs, Vinny. That's a thing. I find it so weird that he's in Miami doing that. We saw Jorge Soler bomb out of there though last year.
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of that stereotypical third base guy who's just big as fuck, and he hits dingers, and he's doing it in a big ballpark. So, imagine putting him in a small he gives off for me big Cincinnati Reds energy. So if he was on Cincy, I think that would be a match made in heaven. Or the Brewers. He's like an NL Central guy to me because he's just that big fucking burly guy who probably loves beers. But, all jokes aside, he hits bombs. And he's going to be one of those counting stats type of guy based off his previous years. But, and I can't believe he's what we said, 27. I feel like he's a lot older in my brain, but I'm wrong. By the way, Vinny Pasquantino is only projected 20 homers, 55 RBIs. So maybe we shouldn't be as hype on him right now, which is crazy. That's crazy.
I mean, the Royals, not really a great team. The A's, not really a great
That's a good point.
The Rockies, not really a great team. The Nationals, not really a great team.
I feel like that plays too. Yeah, you might be the best player on your team, but if you don't have a lot of talent surrounding you, you're not going to be able to put up that many good fantasy wise numbers.
Is there a single offensive player listed here that's going to be in the playoffs this year in MLB?
Doubtful. I'll say doubtful.
The
Maybe
Reds. The
Steer.
Reds.
Nolan Gorman, maybe? Nolan Gorman.
Steer, Encarnacion, Strand, Gorman, Donovan. Depends on how the Cardinals.
So anyone in the NL Central, everyone else can go fuck off.
Yeah, basically.
And it's a race to the bottom in the NL Central. It's who's going to get the 85 wins first. Okay.
No, I mean
Pitching-wise,
that's
Strider for sure. We haven't even talked about Ben's pitchers. I
We
mean,
haven't talked about
Joe
that's the
Ryan.
strength. That's the strength of this team. Always has been. Always will be. It's going to be even stronger in 2025 when McClanahan and Woodruff return. But JD, you just started down the path. Walk us through this rotation.
yeah, I mean, starting this year, Strider, Ryan, Bryce Miller as your top three. I don't think you can complain there at all. Pepio, I'm very hyped for. Obviously, former Dodger, now current Ray. Ben also acquired him in the offseason, one of his targets. It's a solid core there.
Did you mention Gavin Williams?
And Gavin Williams, I did not mention, but there's an argument he might be the best Guardians pitcher this year. He's obviously injured to start the season, will start on IL, but I think Gavin
he's
Williams.
I think he's back after just a couple of days. I think.
Yeah, he's back almost immediately. But I think he might be the best Guardians pitcher in 2024, ahead of Bieber and even ahead of Bibee. What we expect, Ben, probably solid ratios. I could see him winning ERA and WHIP a lot for most weeks, simply because Strider, Joe Ryan could easily carry that alone.
and strikeouts.
Right, and strikeouts. Who needs to rotate 4 different starting pitchers throughout a week when Spencer Strider goes out there and gets 14 Ks in a one game?
And what if he pitches twice a week?
Right, exactly.
Yeah, Ben's interesting, right? He's never used his band. And that plays into a little bit that pitching strategy that you just talked about. He doesn't play the waiver wire game like a lot of other top teams do. There's an argument he hasn't really been in position to do that the last couple of years since that strategy's really come to the forefront in this league. It'll be interesting to see if he adapts this year in his first year that he feels like, I think, he can really contend. Next year, I think it's an obvious choice for him to pursue a volume pitching strategy. This I think might be a little bit in a year like me, where this is a talent identification year. Look ahead to 2025, figure out who to keep for the contention years and cut bait with the rest. I think there's quite a few guys on this roster who kind of qualify as that type of player. Anything we missed, JD, in the starting lineup before we turn our attention to the second largest farm in the league?
Let's go ahead to the farm here. That's a great follow up to what you just mentioned. Farm system roster churn. So currently, every team has a roster size of 30 plus up to 3 IRs. So that's 33. Ben is expected to graduate 32 prospects this year. How is he going to maneuver his roster to either accompany or get rid of some of these guys in his farm? That's basically an entire roster churn.
Trade for a solidified player. Trade for someone older in his prime now. Like, if he really thinks he's going to compete and he wants to stay young, he can. But, like, he doesn't have to trade the people on his roster. Trade some of these 33?
32
I'm sorry. That's
graduating
crazy.
this year.
I mean, you're gonna lose them. You're gonna waste them. I'm possibly gonna I feel the pressure of having these guys come up now, and I'm like, do I want to keep them? Do I want to move it? Like, move them.
A lot of these prospects have a little bit of pedigree to it. Tyler Black, Cedon Rafaela, Nolan Shanuel, who we know Bean's high on. Like, I just don't know how he clears out space for some of these guys. If he's all of these guys are young on his main roster,
Gotta trade.
we have more young guys coming up. How much youth can you rely on?
He figures it out. He figures it out this year. I got the same thing. I got like the same exact number of 2023 guys I feel like coming, or 2024 guys. And so I can speak closer to this topic than anyone else in the league. This is a sorting year. You sort things out. You figure out who's a somebody and who's a nobody. And you just cut bait. You have to live with the lottery tickets that you chose to buy way back when.
100%.
There's not going to be a lot of guys trying to buy half of these guys projected to graduate because some of them are starting pitchers that are now projected like bullpen and long reliever guys. They're starters that now project as utility players, fourth outfielders, and bench bats. Right? So you just got to be honest with yourself. And so what Ben needs to do is just figure out which of these guys are going to be keepers. And if I were him, I would tag 3 key ones going into next year. But
here's the problem, though. He has 3 BAM. What tags?
He's got 3 BAM. And he's got none. We should talk about that during this. He has no BAM coming in. He owes, how much BAM does he owe? He owes 24, 25. He owes 49 out of his 50 BAM this summer that he gets.
During the draft. So he will get +1 BAM during the next infusion, leaving him with 4.
He owes 49 in the winter, so he'll get up to 5 BAM this winter. And
what was he doing?
And next summer, he once again owes 49 BAM. And this is not a topic for this podcast, JD, but as a commissioner, since we're lowering the BAM infusion amounts to 45 instead of 50, we got to work on that with Ben a little bit. He might have to get each 1 BAM he gets in reserve just to cover that future depth of the BAM infusion falls to 45. Ben has no spending power until 2026 winter.
He's basically done with bids for the next 3 windows, barring trades for BAM. He's roster locked right now. It's basically do or die, figure out your roster. And, if he decides to keep on rebuilding because he cannot overcome Vinny or myself, he's got to trade more young guys for more talent, more BAM. It's just
BAM.
never-ending cycle. We'll
probably should for BAM, honestly. If you can, get BAM out of, like, all these 30 players, I'd say most likely, statistically, 8 to 10 might be name stays and hit, and or maybe 20 might be viable, but they're not going to be like everyday lineup type guys that you're expecting, or not expecting, but like what you're hopeful for.
There's not a whole lot of BAM available in the league right now.
That's a good. I mean, he could sell to you, Mr. BAM Lord JD.
We'll get to that in a bit.
Just a couple notes on Ben's farm. He went heavy in this year's auction draft on relief pitchers projected to be up this year. That's Orion Kirkering and
Abner Uribe.
So that could
love Uribe. That's a great pickup.
We clown on Ben a lot. I actually do rate his relief pitching pickups in this auction draft.
That was Uribe he's filthy.
Yep, and we talked about how a lot of shine on a lot of prospects in mine in his farm are now like pitchers that now are projected relief pitchers. Ben could be very set on relief pitching going forward. He has a couple of other. Sorry, JD.
Even on starting pitching, we got River Ryan, Noah Schultz, Marco Raya. I mean,
I was just about to mention River Ryan. You're our resident Dodgers expert, JD. Do you want me to talk about River Ryan, or do you want to talk about it?
Number 1 Dodgers pitching prospect, I believe, on MLB. If not, he's my number 1 Dodgers pitching prospect. I think Ben did a good job in trying to. He got a lot of these pitchers pretty cheap, and so, I mean, there's that. We got Leo DeVree, the top international prospect. He's several years away. But it could just be prospect helium, and that could be one that Ben either decides to flip later or just Ben decides to hold on to the young talent. He's very, I guess, prospect top heavy, but also kind of just a bunch of other guys that are kind of like meh that he threw darts on. So
I thought I see Wilmer Flores. Who has Ty Madden was who?
I think Ben does. Yeah, Ben also has Ty Madden.
I don't. Okay, whatever. Okay, I see him now. So real Ty Madden, Wilmer Flores, two Tigers pitching prospects. A lot of helium about Tigers pitching prospects these days, right? So
Yep.
I don't know. Maybe those guys pop up. He gets two more talented pitchers.
Victor Scott, that's probably his most impactful one off the top of my head this year. I don't think any of his other prospects will, for this year, compare to a guy like Victor Scott, who is probably a better Esteury Ruiz. He could just dominate that stolen base category for Ben. I believe it was 2 years ago, Ben went an entire year without winning stolen bases once in any of his matchups. And maybe Victor Scott is all he needed to kind of turn that around 2 years later.
And he's got Enrique Bradfield Jr. as well in the farm cooking up the steals. I see Jeter Martinez. I could have sworn one of the Seattle guys got him. But, all right, that is Ben's team. Vinny, I don't know if you changed something, by the way. I'm getting an echo from you now.
You're getting echo from me?
Yeah, I hadn't had any before, but now I don't know if you did anything. It's fine.
I didn't move anything. Oh, boy.
Seems better now. Okay.
Oh, I guess we didn't even.
Let's go play comments.
Yeah, there you go.
This is the only good team here.
I don't know what that means.
I'm telling you, there's a whole bunch of offseason hype of, is this Ben's year?
Ben's year to do what?
Is Ben's window open?
To win it all?
Make the playoffs, win it all? I mean, maybe the Ben hype is out there, all right? It's out there from several owners. It's up to Ben now to see if he can hit those expectations.
Jacob asks if he has the potential to be the best offense in a couple years.
Graydon disagreed with that in the group chat earlier today.
He has the potential, but it's all it is right now is potential.
If he hits that 100th percentile for all of those meaningful prospects, potential.
We are not hitting our timing goals on this podcast.
We are going to be way over.
No, we're going to try and hit that 149 mark again. We'll see.
Well, we got your two guys' teams to talk about. 4-time champion, 4-time finalist, and 2-time FTN champion. John Duong, this is your team.
This is my team. In
the gold standard.
Everyone hates this ballpark in backyard baseball, by the way, except for me. Tin Can Alley. Apparently, I'm the clown that likes it.
Seeing Yordan Alvarez out there when JD once discussed a trade with me for Yordan, and I shut it down after I think it was right around the time he got injured. Man. Gold standard of a team. I mean, look at this.
Yeesh.
I mean, it's literally in the comments. I read it earlier. Just look at his infield and look at his outfield here and his starters. They're all young and in prime players. How are you supposed to fucking compete with this shit?
Well, easy. You're Adam or you're Jack. That's how you compete, right?
Yeah, because I fought sure as shit can't. I haven't beaten you in 2 years. I'm trying. I mean, Bobby Witt, Yordan Alvarez. When the hell did you get your Nolan Arenado?
That was the trade I made with Laffy. Several top 100 prospects. I think it was like 7 prospects in total. 4 of them were top 100. For Arenado.
Ozzy, Corbin Carroll. You're crazy, man. You've got the team is still good. Team is still good, and they're not getting a lot older. It's not Jack we're talking about here. It's you've got the youth.
Here's the problem though. I'm not winning when it matters.
You've won it twice.
And I've lost it twice. Those are my last 2 losses. Drew, any thoughts? You're awfully quiet down there.
Oh, it's a great team. Early in FTN, I used to say I don't like your team very much, and hold on, sorry. JD's not any, but I'm like hearing myself. Do you see this, JD? Do you like
Yeah,
me
Danny
lighting
has
up?
a slight echo, but it doesn't bother me. Hopefully, it doesn't bother the audio.
Not echo.
I'm shocked that you guys are hearing it. I mean, I guess I'm on an iPad, so like maybe you're getting an echo that way, but I don't know how to fix that.
Oh, it just wasn't there before.
I know. I didn't move anything.
It's okay. So I was talking with Graydon earlier about Josh Young and your third base position. Like, what happens when Nolan Arenado is gone? And he's like, well, Josh Young, is he good enough for JD's team? And that's when I just had this epiphany of like, I would love to be, any team in the league would love to be in a position where they're saying, is Josh Young good enough for this roster?
Fucking bullshit,
I
man.
love Josh Young. I have his younger brother as well.
Yeah, you do. Look, it's a great team. It's going to win the division. It's going to challenge records in the league. There's nothing to dislike about it. It's young players for the most part are on really good baseball teams. They're not even guys that you like to hate. I mean, who doesn't like Bobby Wood Jr. and Ronald Acuna Jr. and Corbin Carroll? They're like, these aren't even guys to hate. They're not a team of villains or anything.
Just guys you want to root for?
I don't root for Vladdy. I don't root for Jordan. I'll be honest.
There we go.
That's fair. I hate the Astros. Vlad.
Yeah, and I hate Vlad because he's a fat fuck.
I'm with you. I hate fat baseball players. Okay. Look, I don't know what more you want me to say about the offense here. JD, why'd you hang on to Miguel Vargas until like 2 days ago? What the heck was that?
I was a full believer in Miguel Vargas. This is a former top prospect on the Dodgers who raked at all levels of the minor leagues. Got like half a year's leash last year, got sent down, never got called back up. I still truly believe he is like in their farm. I think he's like the best second baseman, shortstop, third baseman, whatever, left field, I think is where they play him now. But he just doesn't have any opportunity on the team. I think he's better than Gavin Lux. The Dodgers just did not give him a chance, but that's just my opinion. I dropped Miguel Vargas, though, just because he's not really on the Dodgers' plans this year. I don't see where there's room for him. And I needed to clear out some space for some other guys that will be called up imminently, such as Junior Caminero or James Wood or something along those lines.
Kerry Carpenter, Andrew Benintendi, Jake Fraley, and Mason Wynn. So names not making this list here. Mason Wynn, obviously a top 30 prospect, and a lot of people looking forward to a speed and power combo, potentially speed and power combo in St. Louis. Benintendi's a question mark. Don't really know why he's here. Kerry Carpenter is just a JD special. If you think of like the Dodgers, but in this case, if you think of like the Rays, where players just magically get better once they get to this roster, that's Kerry Carpenter for you.
Kerry Bonds.
He was Kerry Bonds. He wasn't on anyone's radar. It's to JD's team, and he starts raking. And Jake Fraley, I mean, it's never a bad thing to invest in Great American Ballpark hitters. So
Well, I picked him up recently because Friedel went down. I think all of the other Reds outfielders were owned. The one I wanted was Will Benson. He's currently owned by one Drew Fowler. I'm like, I don't know if I want to trade for him, so I just picked up Fraley on a whim. He's gonna play more with Friedel out for a bit. So I don't know. It was just kind of a dart throw. There's just when I picked him up, ironically, there's a when you see like team interested in, there was one team already interested in him with the tag. I won't mention who it is. They'll know once they listen to this audio, but it confirmed my belief that, maybe it was not a bad dart throw of a pickup.
okay. Well, the question mark on this team is the pitching. It seems to be what let you down in the playoffs. So everyone knows the strategy with you is the volume heavy strategy, and it's obviously gotten you to 2 championships where it may have let you down the last 2 years. Are you running it back? What can you tell the people?
ERA and Whitby Dan, let's try and run it back. Definition of insanity, trying something at the same time and expecting something different. I've run into a brick wall. I just don't know how to overcome it. Jack has a similar strategy to me. He just has a lot higher floor and a lot higher ceiling pitchers. Not exactly sure how I can overcome that. Same thing with Adam. His quality of pitchers was better than mine. It's probably a big question for me this upcoming year is how do I kind of change that strategy? Because the pitching strategy I have now, I don't think will match up with Adam and Jack once again.
Most every prospect here in your farm, I only looked at like the top guys, but you still have plenty of top 100 prospects down the list that are actually all pitchers. Plenty of pitchers. My guy Chase Hampton, AJ Smith-Shawver, Nick Frasso, all could be providing you Bam Chai's tag value.
Out for the year.
Frasso's out for the year. My bad.
Espino out for the year.
Yeah, I wasn't including him necessarily.
A lot of injuries.
Gavin Stone. Look, you'll have options with some talented pitchers. With the Bam Chai's tag strategy to try to match up with those guys in a potential championship game. You don't sound too worried about some of the teams in your own division and getting that championship game, JD.
I'm not worried about Ben. Gonna be honest. Vinny's a quality owner, well respected. I think I trust my batting enough to kind of elevate me above the edge. Vinny also has some dire pitching problems for this upcoming year. So I think that kind of separates me from Vinny right now to where I believe I can win the division and hopefully make another championship appearance. We'll see. I trust my batting a lot more than my pitching, but I will be running my pitching strategy back again. So we'll see how it works out.
Vinny, any thoughts on this team?
Couldn't agree more. He's got the edge in hitting, pitching. It's going to be about who he picks up and how he maneuvers it. It's about him managing it. He legitimately has to manage the team. I think that he'll probably win the division. I'm hopeful he doesn't, but he probably will. He's got the offense is truly going to carry. So you have to go into a matchup with JD knowing that you're probably going to lose for.
I just need Acuna to be healthy, as healthy as possible.
Right. If Acuna is healthy, boom. Look at this. When Acuna is healthy, he's won 135 games, 137 games. When Acuna wasn't healthy, he won 105. There's something there. He's going to be fine. He's going to be fine.
A lot of people are asking, am I washed?
Not washed. You're not washed.
We'll
You're not
see.
washed.
it's putting a chip on my shoulder here for sure this year.
And this man didn't even want to be in the league. He wants to retire.
Putting a chip on my shoulder.
Bam Lord, JD.
So
one acquisition this offseason with Bam.
It's kind of jarring. Drew's asked me a couple of times, like, what are you doing with all this Bam? What trades are you doing? The only acquisition I've had this year, this offseason, is a 7 Bam pickup of Rainer Arias. I currently have 150 Bam. I own 33% of the current Bam in this league.
That's fucking crazy.
If you combine Graydon and I, both division or both conference 2 teams, Graydon and I combined own 50% of the BAM in this league.
With your G. Martinez trade to Ryan, when you factor in the conditional clauses, you have arguably brought in more BAM if you have spent this off.
Oh, did not think about that. I mean, yeah, it's
Jesus
question
Christ.
mark. What do I do? Maybe I go out and offer 100 BAM for an elite player. Maybe that gets it done.
Is
Maybe.
Aaron Judge a formality to JD at this point?
I don't know if it's a formality. It's an.
Oh, this is what we're talking about.
Ryan's name dropped Aaron Judge as possibly available multiple times in the group chat. And
if you used your BAM on getting Aaron Judge instead of getting a top line pitcher, I don't know, man.
Well, here's the thing. Maybe I don't know. I can't get Spencer Strider from Ben, so maybe I just decide to get the top 2 pitching prospects for this upcoming MLB draft, and I'll see them sooner rather than later. Who knows? There's
not a bad strategy.
A lot of options to go with 150 BAM right now.
Got so much fucking BAM, dude.
Yeah. Look, let's move on to Vinny's team in just a second, just because we could talk about JD's team from a standpoint of how good it is. But there's not a lot of questions, and so there's not a lot of injury. Maybe Aaron Judge isn't a formality, but him winning the division is more or less a formality. Can somebody knock him out in the playoffs? He's been vulnerable in the past. Very interested to see Vinny if he's there this year. How would you match up that potential playoff against him? And, similar with one of the new teams as well. The farm, he has tons of great prospects. He's like the Dodgers. He has the most money, he has the most prospects, and he has the most talent already on the roster. Just can't consistently win that championship. It's actually scary how close those 2 comparisons are. I don't know. I'll just point out Caminero, James Wood are probably going to be up this year, and that's just fucking crazy. What do people say?
Gold standard.
Oh my gosh.
Juggernaut. Trust question.
Why can I never beat the legend JD? He's too damn good.
Pitching is dog, but he plays on
easy mode. I mean,
that sounds like
it on my shoulder with all of these washed claims. In a deadly matchup with Adam week 1. Have not lost a regular season matchup since 2022. I feel like I'm getting everyone's best shot.
You didn't lose a single matchup last year?
I did not lose a regular season matchup last year.
Sorry, regular. You didn't lose until the last matchup of the season?
Yes, Vinny. My last 2 losses are the 2023 FTN Championship and the 2022 FTN Championship. So
Bro,
these allegations of washed are coming from. We just need to find a way. I think there's a solid top 3 teams in that tier 1 in this league. I think it's Adam 1 and Jack 2. I just don't know a way to overcome those teams. But I think that's enough said about my team.
JD all time against Conference 2 posts the equivalent of a 6-3-1 victory every week. The only team he has a losing record against all time in the aggregate is Jack. And he has a 500 record in the aggregate against Adam. And he's basically 500 against Tom. We give his props all the time. There is a little bit of a narrative here that when he matches up with teams in Conference 1, he doesn't show the same level of dominance. So there could be.
That's why we talk about realignment, right?
We might be washed. We're playing with a chip on our shoulder.
That's right. Vinny, before we get to your roster, we kind of just mentioned it in the JD segment where we talked about, well, I'm excited to see your potential playoff matchup against JD. That's kind of the storyline for your team now. 2 straight playoff appearances, but you haven't capitalized once you're there. And that's hard to do when you got the Dodgers staring you down every. No doubt.
True.
So, and
Yeah.
question, how does Vinny close the gap on JD?
Such a great question. I have no idea because I haven't done it yet. I hope that I have shifted a mentality in my pitching, and I've tried to acquire more relievers to win more save holds and to get more save holds to win that category, to maybe possibly helping out the ERA to like not go completely volume in that scenario. Considering now that I don't have Garrett Cole for at least a month or two, most likely, and see where I can go there because I've always ignored saves. I'm like, this is not important. And then like in the years that I started to win more, I definitely was paying attention to how I can get a closer or get save holds, like having a swing man like Michael King back when he was. And I feel like if I'm able to take a few pitching categories from JD in a potential playoff matchup, and then if I'm able to maintain my now new outfield and hope that guys like a Jackson Merrill come up and are who they're supposed to be, and hope for a guy like Max Meyer in my pitching categories to come up and be who who they should if they are to be any of their projections, anything like it. Or I keep seeing Jason Dominguez get brought up for later in the season. What if he's my trump card? Who knows? I don't know. It's all hopeful at this moment. But, like, I don't hate my team. I'm not staring at this roster and, like, I despise it. Or, like, I really need to tear things down. And I think you're missing a guy who's now on my starting roster, or now on my roster. Gabriel Moreno has made the team.
During the pod, an on-pod acquisition.
Yes.
Love to see it.
You know I love my catchers. Okay, and my catcher's old as shit, so I'm expecting...
I love the move. I think Gabby Moreno might be like a top 5 catcher in fantasy this year, and he was just swinging waivers.
Yeah,
I didn't like his projections are crazy.
Well, maybe we start there with the catcher position because you have Salvador Perez, and he could hit 30 homers. You'll take your OBP a bit, but if you can play Salvador in the right matchups and Moreno and the other ones, like you're gonna have a great mix there. And then Austin Wells for the Yankees,
who I'm also kind of hopeful could be a first base eligible player. Maybe not this year, but it could be this year depending on injury. Who knows? Because I eventually think he might end up there. So.
Yeah, and first base is a tricky position. I mean, you went out and acquired one at the deadline with Ryan Mountcastle last season. So yeah, looking at your lineup here, it looks strong. It's a lot of guys in their prime of prime.
No, right now.
Yeah, I'm talking about Rosie. I'm talking about Glaber. I'm talking about Mountcastle. I'm talking about Dansby, Austin Riley. These guys are like, this is their time.
It's a team that's built to win now.
Yeah, 100%. It really is. It truly is like a win now. And I've always kind of been that way with the players that I have or acquired. Is like I want to have a guy who has the potential to stay young or be at least in the prime, a part of the prime years, and to see where it goes. And like, you know, trading away Mookie Betts to reallocate some other stuff, like get a Jason and get Luciano, who everyone despises, and hell, maybe I do too. Bryce Elder, who's dog shit. But like, you know, recouping something, and I think I got some BAM from that. I don't remember, but
What are
like
we doing that Austin Riley is not the starting third baseman?
that's also a great thing because Manny Machado is for sure like being the full time DH. Austin Riley is 25, 20, like he's not even
absurd.
like he's like not even fully in his prime yet. Like he could hit 30 for 4 or 5 years straight. Like he's got that kind of talent, and been my best trade I've ever made in this league, and I'm very happy about it still. And then I still got the guy back who I traded away in that deal.
That was the toughest one for me on all of these, was deciding to put Machado there or Riley. Machado, you're right, probably DHing with his injury the whole year, but it does have third base eligibility this year.
And Machado's still a stud.
We had Masataka Yoshida in the outfield before you acquired Arozarena. He should continue to do solid things on offense, but he also is more of a DH now this year, because the Red Sox went and acquired some outfielders even after trading Verdugo. So Christian Yelich, because he kind of had a bit of a resurgence time. I don't think he's old by any means, but I don't know.
He's in the prime waning years of his career, I'd say, because he's what, 31, 32? He's like a judge.
We call that the twilight time.
Twilight prime.
So look, I mean, and I would say the same exact thing about George Springer. I like those guys. I like this outfield. They got to stay healthy. If they stay healthy, this should be an extremely productive outfield. We can
depth coming with Merrill and Jason eventually.
Exactly. Yeah. That outfield looks great for a long time. So we like that. We like that a lot. The pitching. This took a hit with the trade of Luis Castillo to acquire Randy Arozarena.
Yeah, and it wasn't really primarily to get Arozarena. When I found out he was available in the deal, it was a nice thing. It was a nice thing to make the trade around. And did I really want to move Castillo? No. But I do have belief in some of the younger guys that I have. Like, it was the same type of situation that I'm going to have these guys coming up. Do I trade away the young guys, or do I move off an older guy who's great right now, try to recoup as much as I can, and also build my relief core a little bit more for this year to see if I can end up winning some of those categories more than I ever have. And get Arozarena in the middle of it as well. And I'm gonna miss Castillo now because Garrett Cole got injured. Like, obviously, you take that risk when you make a deal. And did I want to ultimately take that risk? Would I have done that knowing the risk? No. I mean, no one. Yeah, Garrett Cole's been pitching forever, so it makes sense that he'd have some type of injury. Thank God it's nothing terrible, or like he's out for the year. Eventually, it could be. Who knows? But, I got Seawald in it, and I got Rosarena and others, and, I feel decent about it. I don't feel great because now I have to trust the young guys, and I have to hope for the young guys and see how I piece it together. And considering Max Meyer wasn't even a part of the Miami Marlins is fucking not even part of their rotation to start the year, but now they have to. Like, you have this kid who you called up 2 years ago, and then you're going to trust these up. I don't know. Miami has always been a question mark to me, but I feel good. I mean, you and Drew, you and I love Meyer, so we're on the same page about this.
And you're not going to find a bigger Bobby Miller fan, maybe outside of your.
Oh, I know.
So,
I know.
You found the biggest Bobby Miller fan right here. He's my starting pitcher one in Conway's league.
Oh man,
dude, I love Bobby Miller, and when I picked him up in that initial, the 2020 while we were stuck at home, COVID dispersal draft, or the fantasy first ban infusion type draft, like I was pumped because I was like, listen, they're drafting him first round, hits the Dodgers. They don't tend to miss on big arm guys, so I feel great about him. And the fact that he came up last year and like pitched, and he pitched well, I feel good about it. And I'm happy about him. And I'm sick of the Christian Javier slander. I'm not having it with this bullshit. I've talked to a actual Houston Astros fan, uh, one of JD and I's friends, Matthew Lightman, about this, and he's like, Christian Javier is probably the best one, most talented guy in the rotation.
Agreed.
So, listen, I'm not completely out of it yet, considering that Garrett Cole isn't out for the year. If Garrett Cole was out for the year, it'd be tougher. But
There's
we're gonna try to put sprinkle some fairy dust on it.
there's another name on the pitching list. It's right here at the bottom.
Mike King, baby.
Go off, Vinny. Keep going. What about
Mike King? Mike King to me was a centerpiece of that trade for Soto, and it's like, it's only super unfortunate that I can't make that type of deal in our fantasy league to get Soto. But it's whatever. Mike King, I think that there's the only question of like, will he get injured again because he had that elbow thing? But obviously, if you're going to trade Juan Soto and make Michael King the centerpiece of this trade, you have belief that this guy is going to be your everyday, at least second or third pitcher in the rotation. If he doesn't pitch in Seoul, I'm going to fucking lose it. Like, I'm excited to see what I can from him as like a bona fide, you're going to be in my rotation. You're going to be every fifth day. I want to see what it's like. I loved when he was the swingman, and I missed that because of the eligibility, and it was awesome to see him. But then eventually when they shifted him back to the rotation where he was supposed to be initially, obviously he was a prospect for a few years with the Yankees. He's got the makeup to be a good pitcher, and I'm not a guy who would want to move him for nothing. Like, he is a value, I think.
Losing your number one pitcher in fantasy baseball for any team is brutal. I think it's especially brutal for Vinny just because of a lack of depth. But I think where Vinny has pivoted since is he still has solid guys: Bobby Miller, Javier, King, and Stroman for ratios. And we just heard Vinny talk about his emphasis on kind of pivoting towards relief pitching. Like, I think Vinny, you put me versus Vinny, I don't think Vinny can square up to me in terms of the sheer number of pitchers I'm throwing at him. But, when I play Vinny, I'm going to be worried. I'm probably going to lose those ratios. That's the difference, that Vinny is kind of where I'm zigging, Vinny is zagging.
Two names you didn't mention that also comprise this rotation. Josiah Gray named the Nationals opening day starter.
I have hopes for him.
They believe him.
He's a former JD pitcher, and I also love Josiah Gray.
Former JD pitcher, traded in the Yu Darvish trade last year in FTN, and then another Yankee, Clark Schmidt, my guy Clark Schmidt. We love Clark Schmidt. I was kind of sad to see him go. We made a big trade with him last year, but he's lining up to be the Yankees number 3 this year.
I think that it's based off of where they were placed in spring. They were assuming Garrett was going to be there, so I think Schmidt is going to pitch the third or fourth game with Nestor. I think they're going to do Rodon, and then Stroman, because Stroman's a pussy and he didn't want to pitch opening day for some reason. And then Schmidt. I think Schmidt could be the 3 in there. But I am after watching Stroman a lot more, obviously this month, like, he has the ability to get the outs. He doesn't give up an incredible amount of hits. He's not a strikeout guy, which is fine. If you can get the ERA down and keep it down, like you said, talking about the ratios, that's going to help. If I'm facing JD, I'm going to lose Ks and I'm going to lose offensive categories. But if I can win ERA and WHIP and maybe save holds, wins is a toss-up for both of us. Like, it gives me a chance, I think.
The pitchers I throw out there does not necessarily mean I get wins.
Exactly, and it definitely means there will be runs involved. But you will definitely get strikeouts because every time I face you, you get 150 strikeouts. I swear to fucking God. Every time. It's crazy. I mean, look at this. Minus last. I mean, listen. I hadn't even gotten close to 80 wins until 22. So I'm not disappointed, and I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful on the young guys. I'm still like I can't believe I got Jason in that trade. Obviously, it makes sense because it's Mookie Betts. But Jason Dominguez, like, what the fuck is Bean talking about? Like, he's been shitting on Jason for years. Like, there's a reason the Yankees don't want to trade him, like Spencer Jones. Like, this guy has the potential to be there for so long, and he showed it while he was playing. He could hold it up, and then it was a short sample size. I get it.
You have some high ceilings in the Alien and Merrill.
Alien, Martian, baby.
The Martian. Sorry, wow, that was bad. The
I
Martian.
mean, Alien, Martian.
Merrill, high ceiling. Depends if you're in or out on Luciano, but maybe you still have a high ceiling on him. And then you have some other high floor prospects. Michael Busch will be immediately there for the Cubbies. Ben Brown, Max Meyer will be pitching.
See, Ben Brown, I'm hopeful. Again,
Nick Nastrini is going to be a White Sox starting pitcher at some point during this year. Obviously,
love that.
I traded you Nastrini. I traded you Ben Brown. I traded you Edwin Arroyo. I like all of them still. And then Drew, there's the three things to talk about with Vinny. Some people commented he has kind of like the weakest farm system, or one of the weaker ones. So what did Vinny do? He came out and acquired 9 prospects during the auction draft and as recently as today in Brock Selvage, who was a first-team spring breakout pitcher. So,
yeah, I thought Vinny did a really good job in the live auction draft. A couple of other notes on Vinny: he finished 3rd in wins last year. Vinny's not known as a pick up and drop, volume pitching guy like some of these other. Him to finish 3rd in wins actually just kind of blew my mind a little bit. Got good pitchers there. Unfortunately, one of them is Scotty Theo, the other one's Garrett Cole, but he's got reinforcements on the way. We talked about that earlier, like Max Meyer. Vinny, you spoke bad about stolen bases when you first started this league. You're like, shouldn't even be a stat. Sure enough, your weakest stat still, you finished like in stolen bases. You're pretty low in St. Gold last year, but you talked about addressing that. Are you addressing stolen bases?
Yeah. Another reason for the Rosarena deal was to get my stolen bases up. Now with the Rosarena, Yelich, McCormick on there.
Jackson Merrill.
And now Jackson Merrill, who's incredibly fast. Great fielder and he's got speed more so than he has the pop, but he's also hit at the lower levels. Granted, he's never played AAA, which that's going to work out. I definitely do. I'm changing my mentality on stolen bases because I thought that I could slug my way to a championship, slug my way through playoffs and see where it takes me. RBIs, runs, home runs, hoping for something better. You need to win some other categories. You can sacrifice categories all you want, but if you're going to face a guy or a team who has stolen bases like on lock and safe holds on lock, and you don't have anything that can compete with them, and then they have a great week, you're fucked. Yeah. So I've kind of gone back on that, and I wanted to in the auction draft, I wanted to get guys that might have more speed potential. Obviously, guys like Bean wanted to spend more on some guys that I have no interest in that have almost no power but have all the speed. I did that for one guy. I was able to pick up I already forgot his name, from the Angels, and yes. And he is 19 years old. He doesn't have a lot of power, but Jesus Christ, he's stolen 50, 60 bases in a season.
He's like an 80 grade speed, 18, 19-year-old, and we know the Angels are going to need to call up their prospects. We know they're aggressive in calling up their prospects.
Exactly. And, they're going to go through a rebuild soon enough when Trout's on his way out and Rendon decides that he's like, I really don't want to play baseball anymore, even though I get paid for it, which I can't wait because
I want to know
What?
who commented will be third in the division.
It's gotta be Bean, right?
No, Bean's got to be second, right? Good hitting, but the pitching.
No, it's gotta be Bean is what I mean that made the comment.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's possible, but like, you're really hoping that Bean's upside of his younger offense beats out my in the middle of their core years offense, and then that his pitching just stays as solid as it's been. When I'm changing my mentality a little bit with I'm going to throw out more relievers out there, get more saves, and hope I'll reach by 20. It's 20 innings, right, to get your ERA and WHIP.
Yeah,
I think
So,
we
so
changed that. But
I'm
yeah.
gonna try right. So I'm gonna try to manage that. That's gonna be my biggest managing is definitely my pitching, and obviously I'm always open to deals for pitching.
We think you're a playoff contender here. You
100%.
will likely finish second in the division. I see all of these comments on like your team is mid, it's solid, lack of upside or depth to compete. But like, what direction do you go? I mean, if you do decide to sell it off, it could just be a bad situation where it turns into Ryan, where Ryan makes a championship appearance, sells off the team, and it's not looking as great as opposed to where you are right now, where everyone's in your prime, you're competing. Maybe it just takes a lucky week or two, and it's all you need.
I'm gonna go for it, and I'm gonna go for it until it all hits the fan. And like, if it starts hit the fan where it really isn't working, I am more than willing to consider going very young. And there are prospects that I don't want to move. But there are players that I'm willing to move eventually. And, if it doesn't work in a year or two, I will own up to being garbage in our division or garbage in whatever it is. And I will definitely, take my lumps, and I don't care because I will work to build something because I have building blocks that I'm willing to keep around and I want to build off of. I'm going to go for it. I've tried to go for it every year, even when I was dog shit, because I thought I had players to do it. And I didn't really get the league when we started because I also drafted without realizing that it was a dynasty league, and I will never forget that because I'm a dumbass.
We didn't know that either.
Yeah,
I guess none of us did. But then I remember we were at a bar in Chicago, and you turned to me like, "Yeah, this is going to be a full keeper or like a nearly full keeper league." And I was like, "Excuse me?" I said, "What?" I tried to draft for off, I was stupid. Anyways, like. I'm in an in-between stage, and I'm also managing, like you said, like before I have a lot of prospects that could be coming up now and coming up this season to when they graduate, right? Like I'm gonna have to deal with the managing of who I want to keep, what I want to do with them. And I hope that I'm happy that the auction draft was able to get me like players for the future. Very excited about my young Asian prospects. I'm excited that I have one that has the potential to be very good down the road. He'll be a future Dodger. It's gonna be great. Him and Bobby Miller and fucking Yoshida. Jesus Christ.
Shunpita.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I can't speak. I've had 2 beers. I'm drunk.
You're good. We are over 2 hours here, Drew. Let's go to the last slide real quick.
We're at the 2 hours? Jesus
We're over
Christ.
2 hours here.
Yeah.
Last slide for this projected standings.
I think Vinny's got a very well-rounded team, and it should be better than Vin's this year. If Garrett Cole wasn't injured, I'd almost place a certainty that Vinny finishes ahead of Vin. So how can you set himself up for a potential playoff matchup? Well, I mean, this is the time to go for it, Vinny, right? I mean, this could be 3 straight years in the playoffs. You're there. It's like, you got to go for it. So this is how Adam and I see it kind of working out this year. JD, once again, just kind of dominating. But I don't think that's
150 wins is ridiculous.
That's a lot, but we did add 20 games.
Fair enough.
So, yeah. What's the order, Drew, for both you and Adam?
JD, Vinny, Vin, in that order.
That's the projections right there.
Bean, it is almost your time, man. Ben, it'll be your time soon. And if I don't win in the next couple of years, you'll probably take over, and then we'll see what happens down the road. But listen, it might not be the time now. And you're going to have to take whatever I pick for your team name. You wanted that bet. We'll see what happens, brother.
I love that subplot. All right, we're gonna wrap it up here. Thank you guys both for joining. This was fantastic. I'll get this up and published tonight. And yeah, the season started today. We're rolling. This will be published. People will watch it on Thursday, and we'll be a week away from baseball every day.
Every day.
The All-Star break. So thanks a lot, guys. We will see you all later.
Have a good night.
Peace.